We're backstage with Ryan, Os2, also known as. Just finished his set, and very good set, 10-year commemorative set. Tell us a little bit about that and Wemf in the last 10 years.
Well, it was one of those things where you just kind of go through the record crate, the records on the wall, the records in the storage basement, and pick out everything, that one track in every 50 that was the anthem of that year. So between Don and I think we probably only played about 10 records each or 15 records each, but you know what? At least we had one anthem from pretty much 92 to 2004.
Now, progression throughout the years, what have you seen Wemf evolve into?
Well, I think what it's evolved into now is something that is long-term in the fact that, we had the heyday where there was 15, 20,000 people there. Now it's sort of hit a static sort of 5,000, and that's sort of what it's going to be from here on. And this is going to be no different than any other festival around the world where you have people that will come no matter what, and it's going to be here, and it's going to be here for a long time.
Now, could you give us any heads up on what's coming next year?
Well, you know what? Going into this year, we didn't even know if there was going to be a next year, but... I've never had happier police and happier town officials, and very surprised to see how many people showed up this year, considering the fact that there really hasn't been a rave in Toronto for probably 2 years now. And, 5,000 people to show up in the middle of nowhere is pretty good.
Speaking of the rave scene, you've seen that die, I guess, over the last few years in southern Ontario. Is it dead? Is it hiding? Or is it really just moved on and progressed to something new?
Well, you got to look at it this way. I mean, nobody ever does what the last generation did, right? I mean, nobody was going to stadium rock in the 80s from those 70s guys. Nobody was doing Woodstock stuff in the 70s. Nobody was, doing that 80s Madonna thing back in the 90s. 90s was the rave years. That was the big years for it. But you know what? A lot of people grew up in that scene and spent a long time in that scene. It's not something like disco where it was 3 years and gone. It was something where people actually spent their whole commemorative years in it and grew up in it and became part of it, and that is what they'll always have for the rest of their lives. So there's always going to be that base of people, no matter if they're 20, 30, or now pushing 40, a lot of the people that are coming out here, because the fact is, this is what they grew up with. This is their 60s Woodstock music, this is their 70s stadium rock, this is their 80s Duran Duran. This is it for the people that grew up in the 90s. So that base will always be there. The key will be to keep it new and fresh and getting new people involved so that it doesn't completely disappear and it doesn't become like the oldies station on the fucking radio. You want something that's evolving, but, we all accept the fact that, it's not top 40 pop, the thing anymore like it was in 1999.
So what's the new thing now? Is it festivals? Is it nightclubs? What?
Are you talking about dance music? I would say that, we all got old. So you know what? We all moved into clubs. Nobody who's 25 to 35 years old really wants to be in a dirty warehouse with 16-year-olds anymore. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So what we've done, we've gotten older and we've evolved and we've moved into clubs. You can't say that's a bad thing. It just happened. And what happens when you're 35? You pretty much don't go out anymore. So, if we can get these guys out once a year, that's a good thing.
How is the evolution to radio? A lot of DJs are progressing on to radio rather than holding weekly residencies. They hold their weekly radio show.
Yeah, I mean, the radio thing was a weird thing. I'll tell you a little story here, just maybe change the topic a little bit. When we started this whole thing back in 92, our goal was to bring this music to as many people as possible. Nobody knew what the hell we were listening to. This is fucking crazy stuff. Just didn't make any sense to anybody. It was just completely different than anybody had ever heard in their lives. We're like, we love this so much, we have to make people like this. We got to introduce them to it. We have to let them hear it. It actually worked better than we ever thought it would. All of a sudden, every country, every city, every club was playing it. So it's a weird situation where you actually accomplish your goal, but when you get to that peak, there's nowhere to go but down.
So, as you have mentioned, raves have progressed and sort of moved on. One thing that has stuck around and probably always will be is drug use within the clubs and so on. Do you want to touch on any personal experience or something that you see needs to be changed?
This is one of those weird questions that always comes up whenever you talk about raves, clubs, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's the same answer, whether I'm talking to the cops, to the mayor, to you, to a DJ down the street. Honestly, do you think 16 to 25-year-olds go out and have a good time sober anywhere in the world, listen to any type of music? It doesn't change anything. The music might be different. the going out, the partying, the having fun is exactly the same. It doesn't matter what generation it is. It doesn't matter what country you're in. It's exactly the same. You will have 10% of the people who are like hardcore drug people. You'll have 10% of the people who are badasses. And the other 80% are really nice people who just do their normal things and like to let off a little steam.
So on that note, if you were a father and your daughter or son at 15 was going to their first rave, what would you say to them?
I don't know if I would let them go at 15. You know, I went to my first rave when I was 19. And I think that was a good year to actually be able to have the ability to make decisions that are important and to be able to distinguish the fact that there's fun and there's work and there's school. And I mean, those kind of things are the things you got to do when you're that age. You don't really have a lot of other issues in your life. It's work, school, or fun. So at 16, 15, no, I probably wouldn't let my kid go. And I definitely don't think I would have been ready at that time. But you know what? 18, sure, fucking get in there.
What's coming up next for you?
Next is a big question. This is a transition period in my life, right? You hit that at 30 range, and you know, what do? Spent a lot of time in university, and you know, now I'm dealing with the corporate party world. So who knows? I mean, you know, my heart is here, but you know, you get to the age where the bank book is not here. So you got to make some decisions that are going to affect the rest of your life. I wish for the rest of my life I could promote and have tens of thousands of people have a great experience and go home and talk about it and make a living doing that. If that's not the way it's going to happen, I'm going to find my way to get in one way or the other in the entertainment world.
And finally, if someone wants to get in contact with you or check out more information on you, where do we go?
Ryan@wemf.com. It's easy.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.